Hello students, good morning all. How are you? I hope you all are super. Myself, I am G. Uma Maheshwar Rao, new physics teacher. Today I want to explain laws of motion from 9th state syllabus. And in this lesson we have the three familiar Newton's laws of motions. Newton's first law of motion. So Newton's first law of motion. Every object continues to be state of rest or motion until some external force is acting on it. See, we know children, if an object is at rest, it will be at rest. If it is in motion, it will be in the same state of motion unless some force is applied on it and stopped it. So, we know that tables, chairs, objects in our home, they are at rest, they will be at rest unless you pull them or you push them. So if an object is at rest, it will be at rest. Similarly, if an object is in motion, it will be in the motion unless someone is forced to stop it. Means, so that is rest and motion. Two things he is telling here. If an object is at rest, it will be at rest only. If it is in motion, it will be in the motion until some external force is acting on it and trying to stop it. So that external force means Newton's first law indirectly telling some external force is required to bring an object from rest to motion or motion to rest. That physical quantity is called force. That's why Newton's first law of motion gives the definition of force. So Newton's first law gives definition of force. It is giving the definition of force, and it is just giving the definition of force or introducing the concept of force. Gives the definition of force or introduce the concept of force. It just introduced the concept of force. And an object is at rest, it will be at rest. If it is in motion, it will be in the motion. It cannot come from rest to motion or motion to rest by itself. That inability of the body to change its state by itself is called inertia. So Newton's first law is also called, it is also called law of inertia. It is also called law of inertia because an object is at rest, it will be at rest. If it is in motion, it will be in the motion unless some external cause, that is called force, acted on it. So the inability of a body to change its present state is called inertia. So that's why Newton's first law is also called law of inertia, and it gives the definition of force or it introduces the concept of force. Force is one quantity which requires to bring the body from rest to motion or from motion to rest. To change from rest to motion or motion to rest, we need one physical quantity that we are calling as force. That's why Newton's first law is also called as the law of inertia, and it is just giving the definition of force. It explains what happens when no force is acting on the body. What happens when no force is acting on the body? When there is no force acting on the body, objects are at rest. They will be at rest if they are in motion, and they will be in the same state of motion unless some external forces, some external cause or some external push or pull acting on it. So that is about Newton's first law of motion. So we know the definition clearly. So and we know that an object cannot change their present state by themselves. So means they opposes the change in state of rest. That is called inertia. So again, this inertia of three types: inertia of rest, inertia of motion, inertia of direction. So inertia of rest is also called static inertia, inertia of motion, dynamic inertia, and inertia of direction. Inertia means opposition. Inertia means opposition or resistance. Inertia means opposition or resistance to change the present state. To change the present state. To change the present state. So, if that present state is rest, it is called inertia of rest. If that present state is motion, it is called inertia of motion, dynamic inertia. If that present state is particular direction, it will be in that particular direction only. That is called inertia of direction. See examples of inertia of rest. So in the carom board, we clearly observe that if all the coins are arranged like a vertical line and you give a sharp hit at the bottom of the vertical line, we find that only the bottom coin will be removed from that pile and remaining coins will stay like a vertical line or just a slide. Means initially all coins are at rest, so they will try to be at rest only. They will oppose to come from rest to motion, and we are hitting the lower coin, so only the lower coin only moves. So this is an example for inertia of rest. Or when a bus suddenly moves forward, we fall backward direction. It is also an example for inertia of rest, because when the bus is at rest, everything inside the bus also at rest. We are also at rest. So when the bus suddenly moves forward, we are at rest. We will oppose to come to motion from the rest. So that opposition is called inertia of rest. Because of that, bus is moving forward and we are falling backward. So backward. And similarly, you take one empty glass bottle and keep one paper on the mouth of the bottle and put a marble and pull that paper suddenly, the marble will fall inside the glass tumbler. That is also inertia of rest. Because when the paper is suddenly pulled out, so due to the gravitational pull, the marble will fall into the bottle. These are all examples of inertia of rest. Now we can see the examples for inertia of motion. We can see the examples for inertia of motion or dynamic inertia. When a bus suddenly moves forward direction, see, this is our bus. and a passenger is sitting comfortably inside the bus. A passenger is sitting comfortably inside the bus, and the bus suddenly moves forward. Bus is moving forward, so we will get a jerk in the backward direction. We will get a jerk in the backward direction. Sorry children. So inertia of motion, dynamic inertia examples we are seeing. So when a moving bus is suddenly stopped, means bus is moving, everything inside the bus is also moving. Bus suddenly comes to rest, but objects inside the bus in motion, they will try to continue the motion. They will oppose to come to motion. So because of that, we will fall forward direction. That is inertia of motion. And an athlete used to take a long run before taking a long jump. See, in the Olympic Games, we see that athletes travel a long distance before taking a long jump. Because why do they will do so like that? Means they want to bring their body into the inertia of motion. Because initially they are in motion, from there to here they ran and they want to take the jump here. They stopped running here, but previously they are in motion, they will be in the same state of motion. By utilizing that motion, they will go like this path and they will fall at further distance. It is an example for inertia of motion, that is called dynamic inertia. And similarly, a fast bowler wants to bowl, he will run a long distance because he brings the body into the motion. And even he leave the ball also, previously it is in the motion, it will be in the same state of motion, so it will go with the high speed. And when we are jumping out from a moving train or a moving bus, so when we jump out from a moving train or a moving bus, so we will run in the direction of bus. We should not come to rest immediately. See, and when we jump out from a moving bus, so as soon as you touches the surface of the earth, so previously our body is in the state of motion, it comes to rest from the motion, so that's why we will run in the direction of the bus some distance and later we will come to rest. It is an example for inertia of motion. And next, inertia of direction. Inertia of direction. For this you see, while when the cycle is going, when we are going on a cycle on a mud road, we'll observe that the mud particles will fly along the tangential direction. So when the wheel is rotating, at that point the particles will fly tangential direction. And similarly, when a car is going on a straight path and taking a sudden curve like this, sudden and sharp curve like this, see, initially we are moving in this direction, suddenly the car has turned, but initially we are going like this, we will try to go in the same direction, but car is going in this direction. That's why we feel to go in this direction radially like this. It is called inertia of direction. So what is Newton's first law of motion we have seen, and inertia of rest, inertia of motion, inertia of direction examples also we have seen very clear. Now we can see another important quantity, that is called linear momentum. So linear momentum. It is the product of this linear momentum, you know the letter P. It is the product of mass into velocity. It is the product of mass into velocity. So mass with the letter M, velocity with the letter V. So velocity is a vector quantity. So momentum is a vector quantity. Now SI unit. To get the SI unit of momentum, we must write the SI unit of mass, that is kilogram, and we must write the SI unit of velocity, that is meter per second. So it will become kilogram meter second power minus 1, and CGS unit. CGS unit of mass is gram. CGS unit of velocity is gram, and CGS unit of velocity is centimeter per second. So we can write this as gram symbol G, centimeter symbol cm, second power minus 1. So this is about linear momentum. Linear momentum is a new physical quantity. It is the product of mass into velocity. Because see, when a heavy lorry and a cycle going and hitting a wall with the same speed, heavy lorry and a cycle, both are moving with the same speed. Let us suppose that 10 meters per second, and hits a wall. The lorry damages the wall by more amount than the cycle. Even though the speeds of the lorry and cycle are same, masses are different, the effect of momentum is different. And similarly, a tennis ball and a cricket ball, it will be very hard, you know. A tennis ball and cricket ball. Tennis ball and the cricket ball of same masses, same velocities. Tennis ball and cricket ball of same velocities, but moving with. So I'll leave that example. Sorry. Now a small bullet coming with high speed. A small bullet coming with high speed from a rifle can kill men, animals also. Means mass is less and velocity more. Sometimes velocity less, mass is more, and that effect will be more on us when it is hitting. So that's why the product of that mass into velocity defined as a new physical quantity, which is called linear momentum. Linear momentum means mass into velocity. Velocity vector quantity. So momentum also vector quantity. To get the units of momentum, we must write the units of mass and we must write the units of velocity. So the units will be like kilogram meter second power minus 1 and gram centimeter second power minus 1. Now we can see what is change in momentum. Change in momentum. So initial momentum. Initial momentum. Initial momentum we will write P P suffix I. Initial momentum is P suffix I, that is mass into initial velocity, and we will write the final momentum. We'll write P suffix F, that is mass into final velocity. So then we want to write change in momentum. So change in momentum, so that is delta P. Change in momentum delta P is equal to Pf minus Pi, that is Mv minus Mu. If this change in momentum occur in a small interval of time delta t, then you will get m into v minus u by some time interval delta t. You can write this as m into v minus u by t. So that is mass into acceleration. So you can write this as the force. So, see children, initial momentum means mass into initial velocity. Final momentum means same mass into final velocity. Change in momentum means we should write delta P. Change means final minus initial. We get Mv minus Mu. And this change in momentum occurred in a small interval of time delta t. The delta t you take it as t seconds. Then change in momentum is m into v minus u by t. So this v minus u by t can be written as a. So m into a, which is called force, means we are getting change in momentum by time as force. Now we can see the Newton's second law of motion. So first law of motion completed, all is completed, linear momentum also completed. We can see the Newton's second law of motion. So Newton's second law. We just have seen that this F net is directly proportional to delta P by delta T we got. So that is delta P by delta T we calculated. Delta P means what? What do you know, children? This is change in momentum. This is changing momentum. And delta t means change in time. Delta t means change in time. And this we calculated. We just calculated now. This F net is equal to delta P by delta T we calculated. So delta by delta T into P means you are writing M into V. Take M common, M into delta V by delta T, we get this we are writing as mass into acceleration. So Newton's second law statement, you see children, the net force. Newton's second law of motion, the net force F net is directly proportional to the rate of change of momentum delta P by delta T you have to call. This is called Newton's second law. This is called Newton's second law. And Newton's second law statement you see very clearly, children. Rate of change of momentum. This total quantity we call it as rate of change of momentum, which is directly proportional to the force applied on the body. So you want to give more change in momentum, more rate of change of momentum, we should apply more force on the vehicle. We want to give a less rate of change of momentum, we should apply less force on the object. See, delta P means change in momentum, delta T means change in time. So then this ratio, what is that? Change in momentum by time. This is whenever some quantity changes with respect to time, you use the word rate of change of that quantity. So here change in momentum with respect to time, we are totally calling as rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the force applied. So if we want to get more rate of change of momentum, we should apply more force. If we want to get less rate of change of momentum, we should apply less force. And indirectly, this rate of change of momentum is equal to the product of mass into acceleration. So this is called Newton's second law. It is F is equal to m into A. Now we can see its units. So from the Newton's second law of motion, we got that force is equal to mass into acceleration. We got it's the product of mass into acceleration. Now we can see its units. SI unit. SI unit of mass is kilogram, and SI unit of acceleration, we know that meter per second square, then we will get kilogram meter second power minus 2. So this kilogram meter second power minus 2 is abbreviated as 1 Newton. So Newton is a scientist name, so you should represent as 1N. So 1 kilogram meter second power minus 2 is equal to 1 Newton. And the next thing we can see the CGS unit. SI unit we have seen. Now we are going to see the CGS unit of force. CGS unit. CGS unit. CGS unit of mass is gram, and CGS unit of acceleration is centimeter by second square. So this is totally written as gram symbol is C, centimeter symbol cm, second symbol s, and power minus 2. This gram centimeter second power minus 2 is written as dyne. So this is the named as 1 gram into, so 1 gram into 1 centimeter second power minus 2 is written as 1 dyne. It is written as 1 dyne. So CGS unit of force is dyne, and SI unit of force is we know that Newton, and if you convert the relation between them, 1 Newton is equal to, we'll get 10 power 5 dynes. 1 Newton is equal to 10 power 5 dynes we will get. So this is about Newton's first law and Newton's second law.